The Chevy Nova SS was more than just a muscle car. It was a statement of power, performance, and raw American engineering. Born in the 1960s, the Nova was designed to be a compact, practical vehicle. But when Chevrolet decided to infuse it with high-performance elements, it became a legend. The Super Sport, or SS badge, was a mark of excellence, denoting a vehicle that wasn't just about getting from point A to point B, but about doing so with speed, style, and an unmistakable growl from under the hood. When Chevrolet introduced the Nova in 1962, it was intended as an economical car to compete with Ford's Falcon. It was a straightforward, no-frills vehicle that offered reliability and affordability. However, as the muscle car era began to take shape, Chevrolet saw the potential to turn the Nova into something far more aggressive. By 1963, they had already begun experimenting with performance versions. But it wasn't until 1966 that the Nova SS truly came into its own. The second-generation Nova received a redesign that gave it a sleeker, more muscular look, and with the introduction of the 327 cubic inch V8, it became a force to be reckoned with. The Nova SS stood out not only for its power, but for its lightweight design. Weighing significantly less than some of its muscle car counterparts, it had an incredible power-to-weight ratio. This meant that while bigger cars like the Chevelle and Camaro were dominating the streets, the Nova SS could hold its own, and in many cases even outperform them. The 1966 model, equipped with the L79 327 engine, delivered a staggering 350 horsepower, an impressive figure for a car that wasn't initially built for performance. It quickly became a favorite among street racers and drag racers who appreciated its ability to launch off the line with authority. The following years only solidified the Nova SS's reputation. By 1968, Chevrolet had introduced the third generation, which featured an even more aggressive stance, a longer wheelbase, and the availability of the powerful 396 cubic inch big block V8. This engine pushed the Nova SS into the upper echelon of muscle cars, giving it a legitimate claim as one of the fastest street cars of its time. The 375 horsepower version of the 396 was particularly feared, as it allowed the Nova SS to run quarter-mile times that rivaled even the mighty Chevelle SS 396 and early Camaros. Though it was a high-performance machine, the Nova SS retained its sleeper status. Unlike the flashy Mustangs and Chargers of the era, the Nova had a relatively unassuming design. Many enthusiasts loved this aspect because it meant they could take on unsuspecting rivals at a stoplight without drawing too much attention. The two understated body lines, combined with a relatively simple grille and a lack of excessive badging, made the Nova SS a true wolf in sheep's clothing. As the muscle car era reached its peak in the early 1970s, the Nova SS continued to evolve. In 1970, Chevrolet offered the 396 engine again, but it was soon replaced by the 402 cubic inch V8, though it was still badged as a 396. The car remained a powerhouse, but looming emissions regulations and insurance crackdowns on high-performance vehicles began to take their toll. By 1972, the Nova SS still had a respectable lineup of engines, but horsepower ratings had started to decline due to stricter regulations. The oil crisis of the mid-1970s brought further challenges for the Nova SS. The demand for smaller, more fuel-efficient cars grew, and muscle cars were no longer the kings of the road. In 1974, the Nova SS was still available with V8 power, but by 1975, Chevrolet made a major shift. The SS badge became more of an appearance package rather than a performance designation. The once mighty Nova SS had been tamed, and while it still had a following, it was no longer the dominant street machine it had once been. By 1976, the Nova SS was officially phased out, marking the end of an era. Chevrolet continued to produce the Nova nameplate, but it had lost its high-performance edge. The late 1970s and early 1980s saw the rise of more fuel-efficient vehicles, and the muscle car era had largely faded into history. However, the legacy of the Nova SS remained strong. Enthusiasts continued to restore and modify these classic cars, ensuring that their presence was still felt at drag strips and car shows across the country. Today, the Chevy Nova SS is one of the most sought-after classic muscle cars. Its combination of lightweight design, powerful engines, and unassuming looks make it a favorite among collectors and racers alike. The 1966-1970 models, in particular, command high prices at auctions, with original big block versions being especially rare and valuable. The Nova SS has also found a new life in the world of resto-mods, where modern technology is blended with classic styling to create cars that can outperform even the latest high-performance vehicles. The influence of the